All right now we are taking a look at the bottom of our screen, and now we're seeing we do have apparently a new pope out of the Sistine Chapel. White smoke was billowing out just a few moments ago. We've been on Pope watch for a couple of days here. This is the second day, and you can see that smoke coming out, and that's out of the chimney, and that indicates a new pope has been elected during the conclave. So this is traditional to see this smoke coming out, and the world really finding out about this outcome. Maybe thought it was going to go into the end of the week, Bill, here, and maybe into next week. Who knows? But we are watching this, and it is finally coming out. We've had live reports from the Vatican this morning, all morning long. You can see the bell ringing there over the city, and look at the crowds in the bottom. I'm sure you can hear the cheers and chants of what's going on with this new pope coming out, which we don't know who that is yet, but we will for sure keep you posted on that as we keep watching this morning. But a celebration across the Vatican and across the world as we watch a new pope being elected and pushed into that there at the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, 133 cardinals have been sequestered in the conclave inside the Sistine Chapel, and the smoke from that chimney that you were seeing there has been installed on the Sistine Chapel for this very reason. We had seen previous votes of dark smoke coming out, indicating that there was no conclusive vote, but now the white smoke coming out, and you just see the crowds there in St. Peter's Square cheering as the bells are ringing, confirming that the electors that have been sequestered since Wednesday have reached two-thirds majority decision on who will succeed Pope Francis and a new leader for the world's 1.4 billion Catholics.
Yeah, and Bill, it'll be interesting to see. There was a lot of diversity in there. It'll be interesting to see the ethnicity and the age of this new pope. Traditionally, we've had popes that are a little bit older. Who knows what to expect, but we will, I'm sure, get the announcement of who this actually is, and we'll have more ceremonies and live coverage of this. But you can see at the Vatican, communities are going crazy all over the world with the excitement there. Some onlookers who are visiting, just kind of hanging out, looking and waiting day in and day out, staying there to see that kind of smoke billow out of the Sistine Chapel when they put it up. And one woman had said, you know, there's so much diversity in the world right now. We just need something to bring us all together. And you can see the cheers of people clapping and excitement there as we roll through this morning. But gosh, a good billow of white smoke coming out.
Say, they had a lot of ballots to burn there. The new pope's identity will be revealed in a while by the senior cardinal deacon, and apparently they will appear on the St. Peter's balcony that overlooks the square and then announce habeas papam. That's my worst Italian. We have a pope. So that's going to happen. You're seeing signs in the crowd as well, with a white sign I saw a moment ago saying Papa, and you're hearing the chants of Papa, speaking, of course, about the Holy Father of the Catholic Church.
And you know, Bill, we were talking about this just before the commercial break, about how they are sequestered in there, and there's 133 of them, and we were talking about with producers about how there's not a lot allowed to come into where they are in the conclave, and as far as food and things like that, because there's fear of maybe getting messages in and out to some of these folks in there, but they want it to be completely secure and not have any influence by the outside public, although I'm sure they've heard reports of, you know, other people saying who they may want to see in there. But again, they keep it locked down, so they do not let a lot in and out there while they're in that elections process.
So we don't know which cardinal has been elected pope yet. We will soon, but inside the halls there of the Vatican, the pontiff will then be preparing to adopt his papal name, which can indicate what type of pope he intends to be, and then he will have a brand new white papal cassock and the ceremonial fisherman's ring, which the Pope wears.
Oh, that's interesting. And as we look at people from around the world and around just places at the Sistine Chapel, I think this is a momentous vote here that really maybe took some by surprise, but it has been a couple of days in previous past elections when they're putting forth their votes for the the Pope. So it's nice to see this in the morning hours. This is just about 9:14 our time, so it's happened several minutes ago, and in years past, it's happened in the morning hours for us, in the evening for folks there.
Yeah, very curious to see which cardinal was elected. There were several that were considered front runners. There was an Italian cardinal that was basically Pope Francis's number 2 and led much of the delegation there inside the Vatican. And he's highly respected, but there were some who said he just doesn't have the personality to come forth and be the leader of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I mean, a tough shoe to fill there when you're presiding over that, and you are kind of the leader and the person who is out in charge of this. And as you can see, the bells are ringing there. And this is either the 3rd or 4th, I think, smoke billowing as we've come through. Yesterday, we saw the black smoke a couple of times, and I think people thought, oh, okay, maybe one more day. But yeah, now we are seeing that white smoke push through. The cardinal electors can vote in up to 34 rounds of voting until they select the next leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. So there are a lot of Catholics out there that are rejoicing and excited to see this situation kind of unfold and have some peace of mind as you head into the weekend, knowing that there is a new leader out there to try and come out at a time in the world and the globe where things are unsettled and diversity is out there. But when you look at the crowds, you can definitely see the diversity there. I mean, there are people from every country hanging out, coming together.
Yeah, it truly is a global church, and that's part of why it'll be interesting to see who the cardinals decide will be their next leader because of the globalization. Some pushing for more globalization of the Catholic Church. And if you went online, I mean, you could actually place bets in some places on who was going to be the next pope. Filipino Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle has surged in some online betting markets. Some people think that he may be the first Asian pope. There were some markets taking bets on this. And then Pietro Parolin, the Italian, was the odds-on favorite, the man I was just speaking about, Parolin, who had been Pope Francis's number 2 for so many years and faithfully serving his duties as the deputy. Will he be elevated to the papal throne?
And just deciding now what type of pope he will be will take some time, but I'm sure that we will see the new pope as soon as they can, and they will, walk through the hall of benedictions and out onto the balcony, and that's when the reveal will happen. But as this white smoke came out, the crowd was alerted to it. The bells were ringing, the flags were going.
I know, and look at the flags right now. I mean, you can see flags from just about every country, and there's an American flag right there.
And religion spreads throughout across our world, our countries, everyone coming together, whether you're a Catholic or not. I think this is a huge momentous event that just brings people together, and you can see the excitement in some of their faces on some of those tight close-up shots of the smiling and kind of rejoicing and kind of just saying, wow, we finally have a new pope, and we're just waiting for the formality of it. And it will be so interesting to see as we're on the Pope Watch here to see when the emergence, and he emerges out of the balcony to see actually just who this is. And you can imagine it was probably tough for everyone to kind of come together and make a decision, but maybe not. Maybe they'll let us in and say it just was, after the second day, hands down, we went this route.
And I don't know how much information we're going to get about what actually happened inside the conclave. On a side note, those Vatican guards, they have the wackiest outfits I've ever seen. You see them right there on the lower right.
Yeah.
They stand out. I'll give them that.
Yeah, they're very colorful, and it looks like, that you think that they may have a tough job standing there, but mostly peaceful, right? We haven't heard a lot of anything happening in St. Peter's Square there as we look out to that to see just people kind of moving around and rejoicing. And how long will they stay? Probably until they see the Pope come out on the balcony.
Just look at that shot, though.
It's picture perfect, isn't it? It couldn't be a brighter, better day with the sun shining through. And
so the anticipation builds now in St. Peter's Square as we wait to learn who is the next Pope of the Catholic Church.
All right, we will continue to cover this all morning long for sure. And if you are not watching us on air, you can always step away and download the Fox 13 app, the local app there, and that will give you access to definitely give you some insight on this, because we are going to kind of stay on this for a little bit longer here. You can see the smoke is letting up just a little bit, but still coming out as they've made their decision there, as they've been kind of together for 2 days. On the second day, we are finally understanding that we can see a new pope emerging out of the balcony of the Vatican there, and coming to greet the people of the world and announce what kind of pope maybe he's going to be to guide us through this next generation.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. The pontiff, of course, will adopt a papal name, and then he'll be led through the Hall of Benedictions and then out onto the balcony, which is known as the Loggia of the Blessings, where his identity will be revealed to the thousands there gathered before, and that's why we see that anticipation. There is the balcony, the Loggia of the Blessings, and that's where the thousands that are on hand there in St. Peter's Square and the millions around the world who have closely watched the conclave and been watching the smoke signals come out of the Sistine Chapel for the last couple of days will finally learn who the new pope is and what he is going to be referred to as.
Yeah, for sure. And I think probably people waiting in there don't mind, because the weather is held up, and they're just kind of hanging out in the beautiful sunlight out in front of the Sistine Chapel in St. Peter's Square, hoping to kind of see what it's going to be like when the Pope does finally come out on the balcony and greet everyone, let everyone know that he is the new pope and the direction they are going to be going. So all quiet with the smokestack. We were on smoke watch for a couple of days. We always had the video in the bottom left of our screen, and now we're watching it in the full. We've been to live reports there with Rebecca Castor, and I can only imagine what she's seeing and going through now, and hearing, you know, some of the cheers that came out just after that smoke started billowing out. But again, 133 to make a vote for this to see who would be the next Pope. We're hearing more cheering with the crowd, so maybe we're going to get a different shot here that comes up to see who may appear out of the balcony of the Sistine Chapel. Yeah,
just listen to the excitement there in the square. If we can pot that up just a little bit, it's just, I mean, the anticipation, you can just feel the tension. So the smoke has cleared for the time being, and the crowd anticipates the announcement. And I've been reading up a little bit here on the betting markets, and it seemed like for a lot of people, particularly people who literally wager on this stuff, that the Filipino cardinal, Luis Antonio Tagle, was very, very close to Pietro Parolin, the Italian, but Parolin the favorite coming into this. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what the choice was. We are going to check in now with Rebecca Castor, who is live for us in Rome, and obviously we're watching history here, Rebecca.
Oh yeah, Bill, this is all really exciting. We are a few blocks away from St. Peter's Square because, as you can see in those images, there are tens of thousands of people there. So we want to make sure we have enough cell signal to do this live shot with you guys. But even from our location, we could clearly hear the roaring crowd cheering. That actually is what alerted me to the fact that there was even white smoke coming at this point, just hearing the roaring crowd. We also could clearly hear the bells from St. Peter's Basilica. It's all really exciting. So, of course, the big question right now is, who is the new pope? Who is going to be the future of the Catholic Church? Now, that is something that is going to take probably still about 40 minutes for the new pope to come out on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica and introduce himself to the crowd for the very first time as the next pontiff. So why does it take so long? And that's because right now all of the cardinals are greeting the new pope. There's a lot of celebrations going on right now inside the Sistine Chapel. All of these cardinals are pledging fidelity to him, pledging to be loyal to him. And this new pope, he's going to go into what's called the Room of Tears. And it's called that because, as you can imagine, many tears have been shed in this room as the new popes are just overcome with emotion and just taking in the significance of this moment. So the new pope is going to head in there very shortly and take some time for himself. He'll probably say a prayer and just you know, have a conversation with God about what this next chapter for him holds. He's going to put on his sacred white robe for the first time, and then when he's ready, he will go out and greet the crowd on the balcony of St. Peter's. The Vatican estimates over 250,000 people are here in Rome to take in this moment, and they are all waiting with great anticipation right now to see who will emerge on the balcony.
Rebecca, you talk about those crowds. Wow, what a scene there in the Vatican this morning. So take us behind the scenes and how the vote came about today. What was the process, and how many times had they voted prior to now?
So what will be interesting to find out, and I hope we do get this detail, is whether or not the Pope was elected on the 4th ballot or the 5th ballot. It came in halfway through. The white smoke rose about halfway through the afternoon session. So based on the timing, it's a little bit unclear to tell whether it was the 4th ballot or the 5th ballot. So that will be interesting because earlier this morning, as you know, we had black smoke from the morning session. And so it will be interesting to see which ballot it was. Both of the last two popes were also elected in the afternoon on day 2 of the conclaves. So this is history repeating itself.
Been out there for several days now covering this, and you're doing the live reports for us. You're on smoke watch, but when you're getting a down moment, what is the atmosphere like around the Sistine Chapel, St. Peter's Square, when you're kind of just off for a moment of being on camera and kind of taking it in yourself?
Yeah, so definitely the area around St. Peter's Square is where all the excitement is happening. It's vastly different just walking around regular city of Rome to when you go into St. Peter's Square. Outside of St. Peter's Square, it's, you know, business as usual. It had been business as usual leading up to this moment. But now we're actually hearing, you know, behind me is outside of Vatican City. In front of me is where the Basilica is. And we're actually hearing people, you know, on this side of the city celebrating. We're hearing some drums. So now that there is a pope and the void is filled, we are hearing more celebrations throughout the city, not just in Vatican Square.
So the conclave operates pretty much in secret, right? And so what do we know about the process there in electing a new pope? They've apparently done several votes prior to now. I'm just curious if there's politicking and what form that might take behind closed doors.
There is definitely politicking. If anybody has watched the movie Conclave, a lot of theologians say it is pretty accurate, even though there is some dramatization in there. So over the last few days, in the quiet moments outside the Sistine Chapel, you know, all of these cardinals are staying together in dormitories. So they're having these backdoor conversations. They're pooling different cardinals from maybe different blocks into side rooms, back rooms, and trying to figure out, hey, can I get you to your second choice? Can I get you to your third choice? Your first choice, it's unrealistic. He's not going to be elected pope. Let's get you to somebody who's going to be more realistic. So there's definitely politicking involved, but some of those specific details we might not get to find out. You know, it is supposed to be secret, and all of the cardinals took an oath of secrecy, but as always, you know, we have some details about former conclaves, and, you know, we have an idea of who former front runners, who former runner-ups have been. So I imagine some details will slip, and we'll find out who, you know, maybe was leading and then lost support, who gained support. We might be able to find out some of those details.
Also, as well, when they're sequestered in there, I mean, people get hungry. They have to have food, and, you know, they don't allow much diversity in food coming in because of maybe some influence of the public getting messages in. So you can only imagine. Rebecca Castor in Rome, and thank you so much for being reporting from the Sistine Chapel this morning. We appreciate that. We do have a new pope, and we'll wait to see who that is coming up.